Good morning. Welcome to another beautiful day on AM Prime. We have so many exciting things in store for you. We hope that you stay with us, that you enjoy today's show, that you're educated, that you're inspired. Speaking about inspiration, we start our mornings with inspiration, and it's a special day. Today is World Poetry Day, and in light of that, I wrote a poem to share with you. It's called Don't Drop Your Crown, or Pick Up Your Crown. On this journey we call life, at times it's filled with hurdles like pain and strife. Sometimes you may be up, sometimes you may be down, but don't give up, don't lose hope, just pick up your crown. You are chosen, well able and gifted. So dust yourself off and know this temporary ache will soon be lifted. Know that whatever you set out to accomplish, you will achieve. Every blessing from above, you will receive. So look at your life as one big developing story that you'll be able to share someday to help others with their journey. Remember that you were made for this, you are strong. So stand in your power and don't you ever drop your crown. So I hope that today, with World Poetry Day, that you are inspired to write a poem, if not to read a poem. And we're going to be talking to a lot of persons today. We're speaking to the Children's Authority first, and we're talking about children and understanding that child protection is everybody's business. So you want to listen to that. We're also going to be talking to our friends at NALIS about what they're doing for World Poetry Day, and on a whole, our libraries are doing some really amazing outreach work in communities, in schools, and we want you to be a part of it. And finally, it's also World Down Syndrome Day. So we'll be speaking to our friends at the Down Syndrome Network about all that they're doing for this day and continuing throughout the year. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we speak to Children's Authority. Stay with us.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
Trinidad, come and get blessed at the Good News Fest. Free groceries while stocks last and lots of giveaways like appliances and toys and much more with live music at each venue. 3 days only in South, March 30th at number 4 Recreation Ground, Palo Seco from 4 p.m. In Central, March 31st at Ancient Alley Promenade, Couva, 6 p.m. And in the East, April 1st, Macoya, Savannah, Macoya, 6 p.m. It's the Good News Fest, 3-day family event, March 30th to April 1st. Lots of giveaways after an encouraging word shared.
Between 2020 and 2022, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service recorded 4,857 reports of domestic violence.
And there was a general figure that 10% of men may be abusers. When we look at the abusers, we found that some of them, it's like a scripted behavior.
Let's say my sister, I suspect she's in an abusive relationship. What are the signs that I need to look out for, early signs?
What's Up Doc, every Tuesday and Thursday on WESN, Content Capital.
Thank you for staying with us. As we said before, we're speaking to the Children's Authority, and we're speaking about children being prevented from being abused and how that's everyone's business. We want to protect our children. Welcoming via Zoom is Ahelia Ramdas, and she's a psychologist with the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome, Ahelia.
Hi, good morning, and thank you so much for having us on the program.
Thank you for being here. So you want to talk about, protecting our children, and we're talking about, prevention of abuse of children. Let's talk more about it, and in terms of what the authority, views it as and what we're doing about it.
Okay, so the authority is the specialized agency that is charged with the care and protection of children. And so we receive reports from or various stakeholders from the general public when children are being abused or maltreated. We send officers out into the field to substantiate these reports. As long as a report is substantiated, then we take action. If the child needs to be removed, then we do so. If interventions need to occur, we follow up with same, and we put children and families onto the various resources that they may need following these events. So that is what we do. At the Children's Authority, like you said, we that child protection is everyone's business because we receive on average anywhere between 3,000 and 5,000 cases per year.
Okay.
That's thousands of children who have been abused in some way, whether it's sexual, physical, emotional abuse, who have been neglected or ill-treated in some manner. And so we are really hoping that we can change that narrative in Trinidad and Tobago. We are hoping that through more public education sessions, through programs and initiatives like this, we can continue to talk about abuse so that parents and children can know how to identify signs of abuse, and they know where to go, the numbers to call to access the kind of help that they may need in that moment. So, we feel very passionately about it, about the protection of our children, ensuring that our children are living with the rights that they're entitled to, safe homes and environments, access to, their physical needs, to education, to health care, living life free of violence,
yes.
Being able to play and enjoy their life, being able to express themselves and share their opinions. So we are concerned with the children in this country, and, we want to hopefully help the general public get there, to that place where everyone is saying child protection is everyone's business, getting back to that place of the village and the community, being mindful of our children.
Yes, definitely. And you said some really powerful things there, in terms of the authority and what they're doing. Going back a bit to the pandemic. So we would have been in a pandemic where children, had to stay home for a long period of time. And in terms of in families or in spaces where children are exposed to abuse, how did the authority deal with that in that case where children were bound to home? And there was no escape necessarily to school or to lessons or anything like that. Did you see an increase in cases? How was that for the authority?
So the authority worked right through the pandemic, and we continued receiving reports. Now, the tricky thing about during the period of the pandemic is that, like you said, children were cut off. They're cut off from their usual routes of communication. So a lot of the times, if children are facing abuse within their home, they may report to a school teacher, they report to the guidance officer, the social worker, someone in the compound. Being at home now, there's less of the opportunity to do that. Many children across Trinidad and Tobago were without devices. To be able to access, call someone, and, being just isolated. So we continued to receive reports throughout the course of the pandemic. Unfortunately, a lot of the streams of communication were cut off, but still we received reports, of persons noticing things within their homes, of teachers noticing things within their online classes and spaces and these things. So it was a difficult time for children, not only being left to the mercy of potential perpetrators, if that was their reality, but just cut off from access to so many things that, they have through their school system, through their other activities.
Yeah.
Yes, that they would usually engage in.
Definitely. And we know we are now out of the pandemic. We still have, COVID is still around. There are people who are still affected from it. And we're still dealing with the effects of that pandemic. Students have since returned to school, exams are flowing, classes are flowing as regular. Talk to us about their mental health though, because that's still a period in time that may have been traumatic for some, even if they weren't in households that, faced abuse. Just the idea of being cut off and being, stuck at home, not being able to go to school, interact with friends, what their mindset may be like right now and what sort of help they may need.
Okay. So often you find that adults tend to feel, believe, think that children don't feel things the same way we do, and they don't experience things the same way we do. But I would like to say that I think children had it a bit worse than the adults in that they were literally trapped at home. Yeah. Adults, depending on the job that you had, still had to leave the home to go to work, or still had to leave the home to go to the groceries and these places, while children were just isolated, stuck at home, without their usual forms of entertainment, without their lines of communication, without access to their friends and their sports and their music classes and karate classes and all of these things. So you would find that anxiety, that depression, all of those things that typically occurs that we as adults felt throughout the pandemic, they felt it also with less avenues to manage that, or with avenues to expel some of that anxiety or those feelings that were associated. We had children who were living potentially in terror of losing family members and loved ones, children who, like I said, didn't have access to devices, may not have had access to food and all of these things. So that worry of what's happening next is not only the parents worrying about where is it coming from, but the children who are at home also worrying, where is it coming from? How are we going to get food? Because maybe they were accustomed to having food through the school systems. Maybe their parents lost their jobs during the pandemic, or the work was reduced so that now it was a strain. So many things, all of the things that impacted us as adults impacted the children as well. And they had less of an opportunity to get out. They had less of an opportunity to connect and to communicate. And so coming out of that, we've had a loss of social skills. So, we tend to ignore that development, the normal development of children was impacted during that period of time when they were cut off from their peers and their social supports. And throughout adolescence, late childhood adolescence, that social connection becomes so much more important for developing their various skills and, developing the personalities and who they are. And so, all of that would have taken a really big hit during the pandemic. And now that they're back out to school, some children may not have learned to readjust to the system, because we have the younger ones who would never have been in school or had such little contact with school. They don't know how to interact and engage in a school setting. Or they may be, the stimulation may be a bit too much for them. They're not accustomed to it. Or older children, they had all that pent-up anxiety, all that pent-up stress. And so, they never had an outlet. Now they're in school and they're reacting to everything. And so we have to be more aware that they did go through this pandemic just as everyone else. That we have to check in and ask the questions, because maybe they don't know how to express what they were feeling, what they are currently feeling. And, we have to extend a little bit of grace with our children as they learn to readjust. We have we just came out of the, last year when we had exams, we're going back into exams. We had children who struggled because they didn't have the same support and access that they had previously when approaching examinations, and so having to fight up and do it on their own, that with its own set of challenges and emotional distress. So I think it's important that we remember that they went through a difficult time as well, that they may not have the words or the experience to express exactly how they're feeling, how they felt impacted.
Yes.
And it's our job to listen, to pay attention, to, be present and to provide the support that they need as they readjust or we get back to the normal. You said we're out of the pandemic. I want to cautiously say that because many are still experiencing challenges associated with COVID. COVID is still around. And so, some of those fears, some of those, distresses, they still do exist for many families.
Yes, definitely. In situations where parents or guardians or even teachers may see the need for intervention, whether it's that the child needs to speak to someone, some schools may not have guidance counselors. We know that, there are schools that do. But in cases where they need to reach out, is there a service that the authority offers where parents, guardians, or teachers can access this on behalf of children?
So the authority's mandate is to address child protection needs, care and protection of children. So if children are being abused, maltreated in any way, they can reach out to the authority at 996 or 800-2014. To make the relevant reports. We encourage parents, teachers, caregivers, other persons in position of trust to reach out to the Student Support Services Division if they're noticing things in school that's occurring with the children. We encourage parents and guardians and teachers to reach out to Childline. They have free services also available for children who may need that counseling, that person to speak to. And we try as much as we can to engage with the public. So if a school or an organization requires the authority to come in and to speak on particular topics, we are always happy to do so and going and do these sensitizations on topics and issues like child abuse and neglect and maltreatment. When talking about preventing child abuse, we want to tell the public and let the public know that it's so important to explicitly teach children and even our adults what abuse is. Teach them how to identify the various types of abuse, how to identify signs of abuse, and what to do if you believe that a child or that if you believe that you are being abused, who you can reach out to. So as much as we can, we try to share that information. We try to be accessible to the public by way of sensitizations as well.
Definitely. I want to find out, just switch gears a bit. We would have seen a video circulating and reports of a child being seen driving. In instances like that, the child is now put in harm's way. How does the authority deal with that? What's the view on that? And how do you intervene in a situation like that? Is that something for Children's Authority to deal with?
So in that instance, the child is being placed in harm's way. That would be considered cruelty to children, where you're putting them in a position where physical harm can occur, where that child is concerned. And so, yes, we would step in if a report is made that this child, we've seen it, the report is made that this child is being placed in harm's way. And so then our mechanisms will kick into place, and, we'd have our officers from the investigation and intervention unit investigating the reports really and making a decision as to what comes next, what are the next steps in that instance.
Okay, and just before we wrap, in terms of missing children, now I know the police unit deals with that specifically, but in terms of the Children's Authority, we have, children who we see missing, but repeatedly. Is that a cause of concern in terms of something happening in the home, and does Children's Authority intervene in those cases?
So it can be a sign of something happening within the home. To say what is the exact reason, we can't pinpoint exactly one reason that children go missing with frequency, but it is, a very big red flag that something may be happening in the home, or something is happening with this child that is causing them to abscond. Or that they may be taken away from the home, by someone being threatened and harmed in these sorts of ways. So it is a concern for the authority. You would see that when children go missing and the police would put out the missing persons notices, the Children's Authority also responds by putting out these notices and asking public to communicate or contact the authority or the police if these children are seen, because this is one of the ways that our children are being mistreated and ill-treated. So we are very concerned about it. We do work very closely with the Child Protection Unit to ensure that all children, and that's anyone under the age of 18, is kept safe, has access to the help and the resources that they need. Many times some of these children are victims of abuse, and so when they are found, the authority then steps in to follow the protocols and the procedures that we have in place to get these children out of the harmful environments and the help that they may need, because our public has this idea and perception that the Children's Authority just takes children, but our goal is to ensure that children are kept safe, and so we are very focused on rehabilitation as well. We are very focused on maintaining family units. So, it's providing the support that families may need to address whatever concerns that they have that may be causing disruptions to their family home, that may be causing distress to their children. And so we try our very best to support and build capacity, build parenting capacity, and the capacity of that family unit to provide the appropriate care that their children would need, and to work with the children and families as much as possible to address whatever trauma or distress that may have occurred as a result of abuse or maltreatment.
Okay. And lastly, we have seen reports, at least 2 reports I noticed, where children were witnessed crime. So they witnessed whether it was robbery or the killing of a loved one. How does the authority deal with this? Because they've now experienced something really traumatic, and they have to move. They have to be able to live through this and move on from this.
So children who have witnessed violence or witnessed murders, the murders of their parents or persons, within their family units, they experience that distress very much like an adult would experience distress having been exposed to this violence. So they may become fearful, they may see changes in their behaviors because it's a distressing and trauma-inducing experience. You may see changes in their appetite, withdrawal, anxiety, you may see the sadness, you may see that they have classic signs of PTSD, which is, reliving the experience, becoming fearful of certain individuals or spaces, all of these things, so many signs and symptoms. And we would want to be or encourage adults to be supportive and present. So the adults in their lives, whoever it may be, it's important that you explicitly let the children know that you are there for them, that you are there to listen, explicitly discuss what safety measures are put in place for their own safety. You're letting them know that you're here for them. You're letting them talk through the experience as much as needed to, to just get it out a little bit. You're paying attention for when these signs and symptoms then become so distressing that it affects the child's ability to continue functioning. And then, at that point, you reach out and you get help. So as much as we can, again, it's about public information. It's about letting parents, caregivers, adults know what you can do in circumstances like this. It's about encouraging parents and caregivers and persons in positions of trust to continue building relationship with children, getting to know your children so that you're able to identify when the behaviors change, what is not normal for them, to establish and cultivate open lines of communication with our children so they feel safe coming to you to express their distress or express their needs, because not every child has that safe space and that judgment-free space to do so. These children are likely cared for by the Victim Support Unit of the TTPS. Unless there is an element of abuse that the authority needs to step in and address, they are cared for by other arms of the child protection mechanism. And so, our job as the authority is to give that support where it is needed, is to provide providing public with information and with education, or online or social media platforms. Our communications unit, they work so hard in putting out information, putting out parenting tips, having live sessions on Facebook, doing sensitizations where we bring this information to the fore, and we try our very best to help, or we're trying our very best to help change that mindset that we have, that children should be seen and not heard, or that children's needs aren't as important or aren't real. We're really trying to challenge those negative beliefs and attitudes that continuously put children at risk.
Yes.
Because even if you're not actively harming a child, by holding on to those types of attitudes where you don't see a child's experience as real or as valid, or you don't allow them the space to come to you and say, this is happening to me, or having children believed, then you are it's perpetuating the problem that we have, and it's continuing. It's providing more challenges than helping when it comes to eradicating something like child abuse, or addressing these concerns that our children face continually.
Yes, understood. Where can you be found on social media? Because as you said, the social media team is quite active with posting tips for parents and so on. So where can persons find you on Instagram, on Facebook?
So we are on Instagram and Facebook. You can visit our website at www.ttchildren.org. So our website has all of the information. We're very active on Facebook. I believe our Facebook Lives run on a Wednesday evening. And we have various sessions, various topics of interest to provide information with stakeholders from other agencies. So it's not just persons in the authority, because it's so important for us to have that collaborative effort when dealing with child protection. And so, we work along with our partners as much as possible. So, you can, come to Facebook and just type in Children's Authority, Instagram, go to our website, and you have the relevant links there as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ahelia Ramdas, psychologist at Children's Authority. Thank you for joining us this morning and for sharing with us all that the authority is doing.
Thank you so much for having us.
We take a short break. When we come back, we have lots more in store for you. Stay with us.
Trinidad, come and get blessed at the Good News Fest. Free groceries, white stocks last, and lots of giveaways like appliances and toys and much more, with live music at each venue. 3 days only in South, March 30th at number 4 Recreation Ground, Palo Seco from 4 p.m. In Central, March 31st at Ancient Alley Promenade, Couva, 6 p.m. And in the East, April 1st, Macoya, Savannah, Macoya, 6 p.m. It's the Good News Fest, 3-day family event, March 30th to April 1st. Lots of giveaways after an encouraging word shared.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
The best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order, or visit us in-store at Forces flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Thank you for staying with us. This is AM Prime if you're now joining us, and it's also World Poetry Day. And to talk about World Poetry Day and all the amazing initiatives that they have going on, we have our friends at NALIS. Joining me live in studio is Ms. Curlan Austin, Librarian 3, Secondary School Library Unit at the Educational Library Services Division of NALIS, and Ms. Bridget Winter, Librarian 3, Public Libraries Division at NALIS. Thank you, ladies, for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
No problem at all. So let's talk about World Poetry Day. But before we get to that, let's talk about the library. Now, the library is a very key place, but we know that there are persons who may be using other devices and, they're using the nets, and they may say, well, we don't need the library. Talk to us about the importance of that building, of that space, and being able to commune there.
So I'm sure we have heard over the years that the library is no longer a relevant space.
Right.
But until now, we can still see that the library is here and the library is thriving.
Yes.
For me, I don't think the physical library will ever disappear. What the library is doing now is moving to meet the changing needs of society.
Yes.
So while we will never be irrelevant, we also have to be agile in terms of changing our operations to meet the needs of our public. So the country's and the world's thrust is digital transformation.
Right.
The library is also going through digital transformation. So in the past, you would have had to fill out a physical form to join the library.
Right.
You can do that online. If you visit any one of our public libraries, we have digital literacy initiatives for our seniors and other user groups, because we don't want anybody to be left behind,
yes.
right? We also have online books. We also want to think of our visually impaired population. So we have audiobooks as well, not just for the visually impaired,
right.
but we're also thinking of them. So we are being agile, we are pivoting. We have to meet our society where they are. And one of the things we see is that we are putting the library in the community, because without the community, what is the use of the library? And if you pop into any one of our libraries on a daily basis, you will see that people understand that there is still a need for the library based on all the programming that is taking place and the persons that are there involved in the programming.
Nice. I love the inclusion. So visually
Yes.
impaired persons, seniors, I know that there are also alter classes in the past
Correct.
for adults to be able to learn to read.
Correct.
I love the inclusion. Tell us about how the library has been able to pivot, and what are the things you've been able to incorporate, given that we came out of a pandemic. So going out to the library would have been impossible. How were you able to use that to, incorporate in your services and so on online?
Well, in terms of the school libraries,
Yes.
What happened is that we had to do a lot of things digitally and online. So all of the librarians, while they were at home during the pandemic, were kind of creating resources and fielding those resources and actually reviewing them for the students. So the students were able, and we put them together in a kind of a resource pack for them to be able to locate it digitally. And as she said, there's a lot of the ebooks and all the databases that are online in NALIS. One of the things is that we at all the libraries and the librarians want people to come back into the library spaces now that we are open, but it also means that even though we have the library, we tend to actually, all the librarians, in terms of making sure that in this day of digital literacy, we are able to teach the children how to use the devices properly, because even though they are using the devices and looking for information, some of them don't know how to use the information properly and well, how to find the necessary resources they need. So one of the things we are doing while we're evolving and changing, we are teaching them the literacy skills that they need in terms of how to actually go and know when they are finding accurate information, correct information, and so on. And that is important. So libraries will always be, as she said, evolving as the world is evolving.
Yes, that's important, because with the last interview, we were speaking with Children's Authority, and we were talking about the fact that some children did not have access to devices. So now we have the library having those devices, and they're able to still be included and learn. So that's really good. Tell us about the importance of World Poetry Day for NALIS.
Well, in terms of the Educational School Libraries Division, this year we focus on 2 ventures, which we usually do every year. The first one is the Harder Poetry Competition, and the other one is all the SLMC activities. Harder Education, the Ministry of Education, and NALIS, especially the Educational School Libraries Division, work in tandem in collaboration for this World Poetry Day. Actually, it's culminating today. The finals is in NALIS at the AV room. And I could imagine all the students coming in now and the excitement and so on to put on their performances and so on. It starts at 9 and it finishes at 12. At the SLMCs, however, which is all over Trinidad and Tobago, the librarians will be spearheading whatever they're doing for World Poetry Day in the school. So at assemblies, they will be talking about it. They will be reading poetry. They will be doing displays. They will be even doing performances and mini competitions and all the fun activities with the children. So they can't miss out on World Poetry Day.
And at the public libraries?
Okay, so we have approximately 25 public libraries across Trinidad and Tobago, and that includes our correctional institutions and our community libraries. And we have various things going on in different libraries, but some of the things you can look forward to, of course, we have informational and book displays, both in-house and on our various Facebook pages. We have poetry writing workshops. We have poetry readings. One of our book clubs will be reading poetry, listening to Paul Keynes Douglas, one of our poet laureates, and they will be having discussions around that. One of our other libraries is having a poetry wall. This is the Port of Spain Children's Library.
Nice.
So if our children and the parents are listening, we invite you to encourage your children to take in their original poetry so it can be featured on the poetry wall.
That's very exciting.
Yes. We have one-line poetry. You go into the library and, well, the first person will have the first line and each successive person will add to that poem.
Nice.
So that'll be
they're building on the poem.
Yes.
Nice.
And there is one library that's also doing poems in your pocket.
Okay.
So when you go into that space, you'll be able to get a poem. You won't know what the poem is, but who knows, you may be surprised. So I encourage all the folks who are listening or watching to go into their nearest public library and find out what's going on. Maybe you have a poem that you want to share with the rest of Trinidad and Tobago, or you can just fall into the activities that are happening in the various libraries across Trinidad and Tobago.
How can persons get in touch with the library on social media? Because I know with the pandemic and all of that and, you know, going digital, you've been very active on social media. So where can they find you on social media?
We are, each library, each public library, I'll start there, has a Facebook page.
Okay, good.
So just type in the name of your area, like Moruga Public Library, or Port of Spain Children's Library, or St. Helena Public Library, and there's also a NALIS corporate Facebook page. ELSD, the Educational Libraries Services Division, also has a Facebook page. The Heritage Library also has a Facebook page. So we are everywhere on Facebook. And we do have a YouTube channel as well, but the Facebook has the most current things. So you can find us there.
I just realized, you know, with you calling out the types of libraries we have, there are persons who may not realize we have all of this at the library. So tell us a bit about the types of libraries that exist.
Well, there's the public libraries, and as you said, there's a lot of
public libraries.
Yes, so you could go to your closest public libraries. There's the community libraries, which is the collocated ones that are opening now all over. And then there's the school libraries. There's 124 of them. There's a little bit more. So in all the secondary schools, there's the special libraries, which is in the offices and the businesses and so on, in the ministries. So, and then there's our heritage library, and we can't miss that one in terms of, you know, our culture and promoting all things that are local. So, you know, it's close to you, so you can drop in into any library. Even the school libraries, they cater sometimes for the community, so people can, you know, go and in terms of when they're having activities and enjoy as well as the closest public library.
Nice. And before we wrap, what would be the message to the public on this World Poetry Day?
Poetry is an expression, an artistic expression, and sometimes people think it's outdated, but it is something that, you know, even today is relevant in terms of our heritage and our culture. And we just think about, and I was telling my colleague, that even our Calypsonians and their writings as well could be considered poetry, right? And it helps us in terms of our emotion and sharing with one another our history and our culture and our self-expression.
Definitely. And Ms. Winter?
Quintel said it better, so I just want to add to that. There's a poem in every one of us.
Yes.
So we just need to let it out.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much. We were speaking with Nallis, and that was Ms. Curlan Austin, Librarian 3, Secondary School Library, with the Educational Library Services Division at Nallis, and Ms. Bridget Winter, Librarian 3, Public Libraries Division at Nallis. Thank you, ladies. Enjoy your World Poetry Day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And be sure to check out the library. There's so many amazing things happening. It's still a beautiful thing to go into the library and to feel a book, to talk to the librarians, to see the joy that you get from reading the pages of these books. Not just poems, but stories like yours that need to be let out. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we have lots more in store. Stay with us.
Sacrifice of Praise, the Rejoicing Gospel Concert, Saturday, March 25th. All roads lead to Naparima Bowl, San Fernando. Michelle Sylvester, Jaron Nurse, Akini James, Tony Gonzalez, Sean Daniel, Arnold Phillip, Joanne Foster, Positive, Blessed Messenger, and many more. Rejoice and offer your sacrifice of praise. March 25th, Naparima Bowl, San Fernando. Tickets $250. Available at Allison's Bridal Boutique, San Fernando, and WESN, Gattaca Street, Port of Spain, or call 223-7911.
The best birthday gifts are at dbesttoys.com. Shop for the best brands you love at the best prices, like VTech, Leapfrog, Fisher-Price, Play-Doh, Hot Wheels, Barbie, Cocomelon, LOL, Baby Alive, Crayola. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 32DBEST to order. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Site, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m. only on WESN, Content Capital.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity, from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers? Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best. I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WESN,
the Content Capital.
We are celebrating World Poetry Day here on AM Prime, and we have from our friends at the Two Cents Movement some videos of amazing poetry performed at their recent Raise the Bar competition held at the Little Carib Theatre. The first video we'll take in is of that dynamic duo, Terrell and Tyreek, and their piece for Raise the Bar. Let's watch.
One prayer, two boys, one God. The floor became best friends with our knees. Our palms became one hand glued together by the sweat of it. The Our Father's prayer became one with our mouths like spit. Standing on opposite sides of the altar of hope, I bellowed to heaven for hours the Our Father prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, this is a prayer of desperation. Deliver daily bread by any means. I am fair on my feet, asking you to spare me from being eaten up by him. He desperate. And when we pray, our prayers will race, which will reach heaven first. Let me burst upon my King James. What did Psalm say? No sun shall not smite thee by day. I will catch him if I pray. Let me rinse off the innocence of youth. When God see me, he will say, son, shoot. Straight to Revelations. See how nations bow at his command. Then who is that man to plan, to swing for me? See this gun here? This is my Exodus. Ezekiel, Amos, I's the king. I remember when we were boys, and pulling a trigger was just a thought. And for a while, the sought solace in each other's company. In the valley of the shadow of poverty, God will provide. And we left it for God to provide. But since you crossed that divide, that means someone has to die. And it's not me. So to hell with the thin line of shared childhood memories. To hell with the thin line of his mommy once being my mommy. To hell with standing next to each other in a primary school. Our Father, my gun can't be fooled into friendship. Let this prayer be my fortress and defensive armor. Bullets will pack on that street boy. Deliver us from all evil. The devil is a liar. And my death, his death is conceiving. Lord, hear my prayer. I see my prayer in the air, like blade trying to tear the thoughts from the necks. Lord, why is prayer trying to wear the life of mine out? God, what is prayer doing here? God shut his black mouth. No, yes, come back here. Yes, God, accept my prayer. God is right there. Lord, my prayer my prayer is right there. God, no. Lord, why I signed that street oath. God, you alone know that I had to do it. So now I have to move with my angel at that. I love you till death. Do us part. And every prayer has an end. And when the amends are said, and it's time to make amends with self, boys will be forced to turn into men. Oh God, send a prayer to comfort them. Hope it reaches heaven.
Right.
So very profound. We are still celebrating World Poetry Day today, and our next video from our friends at Two Stands Movement with their Raise the Bar competition that they held recently is Michelle Henry. Let's watch.
So that, good morning, manage to roll off of your back like if it's Baji. Girl, you mad, we? I wouldn't say nothing, not even hi. You can't stunt on me, and here is reasons why. We know what belly and eat. And eating cricks for weeks. Playing George of the Jungle on Mr. George Mango Tree. Taking long rod to hit mango for 6 and playing field out hunger. But for weeks is mango alone. Mango sweet like honeycomb. But the mango is not even mine, it's the neighbor own. And you think you could stunt on me? A broomstick ever have you moving fast so? Have you singing like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, no. I realize she going for the belt, but like she oversee, I realize she joking by girl whip soaking pee. Mommy backhand can excavate her house. And she front hand, make it quiet like a mouse. And you think you could stunt on me? Imagine. Some people bathe in jacuzzi. Some people bathe in shower. Some people bathe in the rain. I never forget the horror. Bathing by the standpipe and precious pass. You had to stop, drop, and hide your jockey shorts. And you think you could stunt on me? Trust me. You ever trust from Miss Margaret's shop? Your payment outstanding. She say you're owing since last week and you playing, you ain't understanding. It's no habla, me no comprende. And with that little fake Spanish, that conversation ended. And you think you could stunt on me? We know about sleepover. Hardly any space to the bed and I can't roll over. The place cold, and it's like my cousin brother lose control. Like he bladder singing, let it go, that sleep sweet, so he let the pee flow. And the both of we fighting for this dry space, like we in Hitler's war zone. And if I lose, I had to sleep like the dogs. Oh, nah, I don't know, nah. Still pee in bed, I thought you just outgrow that. And you were stunned on me? We know what having the hottest stuff locked in your guts. And you're my tanty catching. You want to do the fancy latrin. Casual conversation with cockroaches now by approach. The latrin hole stink and black like a pipe about, and I just sit on that and I just shh. Oh, what is that? One rat. Two rat. Three rat. The place too black. You see that? When you already hit rock bottom, nobody in life can make you feel lower. I grew up on milk and sugar, bread and butter, taught in real water. Hard times was a rite of passage when I had no passage. You can't stunt on me. You can't stunt on me. I start off life just like you, a youth in Trini that sit down right now in RTB. Thank you.
Yeah. Michael Henry.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Here's your WESN News on the Hour. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Fire Services Association provides guidelines to prevent fires. Woman killed in Couva taxi. Public Utilities Minister sympathizes with Freeport residents. And internationally, curfew in Miami Beach after gun attack. Now for the details. The Fire Services Association is encouraging persons to call the fire services when their home becomes threatened by nearby bushfires. This warning comes just days after 2 homes were destroyed by a bushfire in Claxton Bay over the weekend. Association President Leo Ramkisoon provided some necessary guidelines as he spoke via WESN's AM Prime.
We are advised as general guidelines, turn off all gas and electrical supplies at home, all gas and so on, and go to the kitchen, take off the gas tank, all of those things. Close all doors. People take for granted that if your home becomes involved in a fire, when the doors in your home are open, it makes a much easier way for the fire to spread throughout the home than when the door is closed. When the door is closed, it kind of assists in confining the fire.
Police are investigating the death of a woman in Couva. Reports say 36-year-old Natasha Munisar of Jordan Avenue, McQueen, Couva, was killed while seated in the back seat of a vehicle. It is alleged another vehicle crashed into the car and a lone gunman alighted and shot and killed her. The gunman then re-entered his vehicle and drove off. Public Utilities Minister Marvin Gonzalez says he is confident that in 3 months the Freeport community will see a better water supply due to WASA installing ground wells. Speaking on WESN's AM Prime, the minister described the current water woes in the area as unfortunate.
unfortunately, because of that rotational issue, when you have disruptions on your plant and disruptions on your main transmission line, 10-inch line, 6-inch line, it is very easy that those communities that get water once every 7 days, they can go for 2 weeks because they would have missed that rotation as a result of disruption on their transmission line or disruption at the plant. So there were a number of disruptions in the Freeport area that impacted the water supply, and thereby WASA could not have responded to the schedule.
In international news now, Miami Beach officials met on Monday to discuss curfew restrictions for this coming weekend after a state of emergency was declared on Sunday. A brief curfew was imposed after spring break in the city was punctuated by 2 fatal shootings over the weekend. The curfew was in place from midnight on Sunday until 6 on Monday. This marks the second year Miami Beach declared a state of emergency related to violence during spring break. Well, that was your news to the hour on WESN. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for staying with us. Today is also recognized by the UN as World Down Syndrome Day. And joining us to talk about World Down Syndrome Day and the initiatives of the Down Syndrome Network of Trinidad and Tobago is Lisa Ghani, Chairman of Events and Sponsorship at the Down Syndrome Family Network. Lisa, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning and happy World Down Syndrome Day to everyone.
Thank you.
So happy to be able to join you this morning.
Yes. So we're going to get into the network. Tell us about the Down Syndrome Family Network. How did that come about and the work that you're doing?
The Down Syndrome Family Network was formed 11 years ago by Glenn Niles and a group of parents and myself. And it was at a time when we thought that there was no real representation for persons with Down syndrome. And there was a need, by families and people in the community to have a network where they could share experiences and that they could find out information that would really help and benefit their children. And so that was the basis and genesis of the network at that time. And of course, as we grew, it became very obvious that, one of the main things that we had to do was also to look at advocacy and also looking at things that could happen for change in our society, especially where human rights of persons with disabilities is concerned.
Right. In terms of that educational aspect and, educating the public on Down syndrome, what are some of the misconceptions that we still possess today that, the group is working towards eradicating?
Well, I think the first thing is, that people have to presume competence. A lot of times we look at persons with disabilities and we think that they cannot do something.
Okay.
So, we have to remove that word cannot, because everyone has potential. It's just how we unlock that potential and how we provide them with the opportunities to be able to achieve their full potential. Some of us, all of us, no matter whether we have a disability or not, have to be provided with the right environment and the right tools to be able to help us to grow and to learn and to achieve things, So
yes.
With children with disabilities, it just means that we have to open new doors of how we teach and, how we make things accessible to them as well.
Now, the theme for this year is with us, not for us. So tell us the significance of that theme. And I know you were speaking about that just now.
Yes. So every year, the United Nations, because it was kind of coincidental that when the network was formed, it was the same year that the United Nations actually declared World Down Syndrome Day.
Okay.
So World Down Syndrome Day is celebrated, of course, on the 21st of March every year internationally. And internationally, through the UN, they choose a theme. And we, of course, are affiliated to the international organizations like Down Syndrome International and the National Down Syndrome Congress of America, where we celebrate the international theme as well as at our conference. So this year, they chose With Us, Not For Us. And in particular, they are looking at, legal capacity and supported assistance for persons with disabilities where necessary to help them make decisions that might impact them, from a legal perspective. Because, of course, again, it comes back to the human rights that even if you have a disability, it doesn't mean that you cannot own property, that you cannot be married, that you cannot engage in a contract, but you need to understand and have support to be able to make the right decisions.
And in terms of locally, what does that support look like? What do we need to do to have such legislation in place?
Well, that's the big question, really. And as you may already know, we have a policy, a national policy on disability, but we really do not have legislation. The Equal Opportunities Act also has policy with regards to employment and equal opportunities for persons with disabilities. But we have really been working, assiduously to engage with government and the persons with the political power to be able to enact laws and really protect the rights of persons with disabilities, and also make it so that it's not, it's not that you're feeling good this morning and you say, well, okay, maybe I should employ somebody with a disability, this is their right.
Yes.
So when we put these things in place, it just gives them the legal standing to be able to demand better for themselves.
Yes. Speaking about that, in terms of the thinking towards, employing someone with Down syndrome, or how we treat persons with Down syndrome, and we look at, lots of socks.
Yes.
And so, there's some people who may know what it means, the meaning behind it. But talk to us about the support that is needed beyond just the visual, which is, getting the colorful socks and, displaying it. Talk to us about the core of it.
Yes, well, I think Lots of Socks, again, is an international campaign that we adopted some years ago, really to bring awareness to Down syndrome, because, before we could act, we have to be aware.
Yes.
If you say that you don't know, well, then you have an excuse. But now, after doing this for 10 years, it has become, I like to say it has become a national event, because we really have everybody on board taking part in the activity. But as you said, we have to make sure that we don't lose focus on the fun part of it and not really understand why we do it. So especially when we go to schools and offices, we try to combine the pop-up shops with a lecture or a presentation where we can talk about the disabilities, talk about what we're doing with regards to advocacy, and how that school or organization can support a person with a disability within their environment. So, of course, a lot of principals today are doing activities in their schools which involve like assemblies, or we also have a package that we give to the schools that describes, activities that you can do leading up to Down Syndrome Day, which might be a project with a class where they look into it, or they actually engage with someone in their community who has a disability and ask them to do a talk about their life or their life story, where the children can learn. Because I think, again, we always say the future is in the hands of our children. And when they learn from a very early age to accept a person who's different to them, then it becomes normal, and it no longer is this person is different. They're engaged. And we've seen it happen in schools where, persons with Down syndrome have been integrated into the classroom environment and now are just, they walk around the school just like any other child. It's not a big thing or a big deal.
Yes.
So really and truly, we can do it on the level of the school. And then, of course, with employers, what we found now is when we go in and we have these conversations and we share a lot of information, because this is happening globally, so we don't need to recreate the wheel. We share with them the best practices and what they can do, because a lot of organizations, they talk of inclusion and diversity. Mm-hmm. And of course, persons with disabilities are one of the diversity groups.
Yes.
And we have seen employers now coming on board who want to employ persons with a disability. Now, that leads us to the next thing, that, if an employer wants to employ a person with a disability, that person with a disability also has to have the skills.
Yes.
And have to have the academics, mm-hmm. whether it is, to meet the job that they have to do. Mm-hmm. So, it goes back again to education. And we say, if you're not educated, you can't be integrated.
Yes, correct.
So really and truly, we want to really reach out to our ministers of education and our politicians and government people who have that power to really make the changes in our society, to move forward with us on this. We have seen them come on board and speak with us and engage in conversations, but we want to push a little more. Mm-hmm. We want to push a little more because the time is now.
Yes, understood. Tell us about the outreach work and the conference that's coming up, as well as Fashion with Us. Give us details on both events.
Okay. Well, in just about an hour and a half, we're going to start our conference here at the Hyatt.
Yes.
We have a lovely lineup of speakers. We have a guest speaker from Toronto, Canada, Monica Myers, who is also Toronto's first fashion model with Down syndrome. And she's been, over the last year and a half, she's worked for Toronto Fashion Week and New York Fashion Week and a lot of other designers in Toronto. She's joining us to tell us her story. She's 14 and, very outgoing. Mm-hmm. And again, bringing a person like Monica here, which we've done over the years, is really to inspire our parents as well. Because here in Trinidad, we also have our own ambassadors,
Yes.
People like Kelly Simmons and Christy D'Souza and Surya. All of these young people now are young adults who have actually entered the world of work and are using their talents to also bring awareness locally to what we can do as Trinidadians and Tobagonians as well.
Yes, yes. So, as you spoke about parents, and locally, what advice, before we wrap up, would you give to parents who, are aware that their child is Down syndrome, or they have, seen signs, they've gotten the tests done and they realize, okay, they have Down syndrome. What advice would you give to them, moving forward, understanding that their life can still happen for them, that, this is not a death sentence, this is not the end of the world, there is so much more that they can do?
I would say first, presume competence. Don't let anyone else, speak to you in a negative manner about your child.
Yes.
This is your child. The child has life, breath, and they have you as parents to open every single door possible for them. So believe in yourself, believe in your child, and then join the network.
Yes.
When you have a network with other parents who have gone through what you are going through, once you engage with them and you start the conversation, you are going to feel so much better, because then you're going to see for yourself what your child can achieve through the eyes of others. And also, we have a very vibrant WhatsApp chat group with our parents.
Okay.
And, people post anything. If their child isn't eating, or if their child, is not taking them on, they will put it in and say, does your child do this? Mm-hmm. What did you do if your child was late, is not speaking as much as you think that they should? And parents start to put in their things, what they did, what worked for them. How do you potty train your child?
Mm-hmm.
How if you go to the health center and you need to get a form filled out, who do you go to? And so, that network really does support.
Yes.
They do support each other. And then when we have our family workshops as well, and we get together one-on-one and, and face-to-face, then there's even more, socializing and conversations again. and sharing of knowledge and sharing of information. And you build a community that way, which is essential.
Okay, great. And just before we go, I know you have the conference to get ready for. Where can persons find you on social media?
We have a Facebook and Instagram page. We have a website as well, so Down Syndrome Family Network. Just type that in and it'll all pop up. Plenty of information there. And they have our contact information as well. We have a contact telephone number that they can call, or our Facebook page is extremely active. So if you post a message there, someone will respond to you within 24 hours.
Okay, great. Well, all the best today with the conference. Happy World Down Syndrome Day to you and the team and all the amazing work that you're doing.
Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing us this information as well with all your viewers.
Yes, thank you. We take a short break. When we come back, we have some more in store before we wrap up.
Trinidad, come and get blessed at the Good News Fest. Free groceries while stocks last and lots of giveaways like appliances and toys and much more with live music at each venue. 3 days only in South, March 30th at number 4 Recreation Ground, Palo Seco from 4 p.m. In Central, March 31st at Ancient Alley Promenade, Couva, 6 p.m. And in the East, April 1st, Macoya, Savannah, Macoya, 6 p.m. It's the Good News Fest, 3-day family event, March 30th to April 1st. Lots of giveaways after an encouraging word shared.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
The best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order or visit us in-store at Forces flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing now, Andre.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is there no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Thank Thank you for staying with us. We're celebrating World Poetry Day, we're celebrating Down Syndrome Day, and we're still celebrating International Day of Happiness. We know it was yesterday, but we're maintaining the happiness throughout the week. So stay with us with that. We have one more poem from our friends at the 2 Cents Movement. And this poem is from the Raise the Bar Festival, which recently concluded. It's from a student at St. Joseph Convent. Take a look at it.
No, angry at the way children are treated. Roof over our heads, clothes on our backs, and we're fine. Fine daily with words like, you too happy, yes, well it's best I just keep to myself. A dark grey cloud hovers over me. Restructure, resize, but yet still I can hide that I'm not okay. Okay? Some may say it's okay to not be okay, but on this day, I say ask for help. Help yourself or be helped by someone else. We live in a modernized era where social media could help solve the puzzle of this teenage mind, but mind that not all may understand. Well, at least face mask mandate grasp the concept of hiding in plain sight. Faith, right? Words going through one ear and coming out the other. Parents, listen to your children, please, before one thing leads to another. Another child laid to rest because of negligence. Not blaming no one parent, but simply the cycle of absence. Who are we to rely on now? Social media? Taking over the minds of children like some puzzle and unsealed mystery of why do I and how can I? We're so concerned about living that we can't realize the wake of damage that we're leaving. Wake up! We need to wake up, because change is upon us. This new generation will be the voice of evolution by using the method of execution, and this is not the conclusion, but it should be sufficient, right? Sometimes we black out like a dull light, but in this moment we realize that we need a change. Some way to rearrange the mindset of this nation. Patience is key on this journey, but rapid is how responsive we should be.
It's World Poetry Day, and I hope you are as inspired as I am with all these amazing poems from these young people. You know, poetry is not just about rhyming or, you know, something catchy or on beat. It's about sharing your story, telling your story, speaking what's in you. Every one of us has a story to tell, and that's what the poetry is about. Poetry is life. So, as I did in the opening of the show, I did pen a piece in light of World Poetry Day. I'm going to share it before we wrap up, feeling inspired to share it again, right? And the name of it is Pick Up Your Crown. On this journey we call life, at times it's filled with hurdles like pain and strife. Sometimes you may be up, and other times you may be down. But don't give up, don't lose hope, just pick up your crown. You are chosen, well able and gifted. So dust yourself off and know this temporary ache will soon be lifted. Know that whatever you set out to accomplish, you will achieve. Every blessing from above you will receive. So look at your life as one big developing story that you'll be able to share someday to help others with their journey. Remember that you were made for this. You are strong. So stand your power and don't you ever drop your crown. That was my poem for World Poetry Day. I hope that you feel inspired to pen a poem today as well too, or to read one. Visit the library, go online, see what they have, read a poem today, share it with someone. And remember, we're still sharing happiness. Yesterday was International Happiness Day, and we have a video from the Lightbox series with College Boy Jesse's Happy. That will take us out for the rest of the day. We hope that you have a great day. See you then.
Yeah, College Boy Jesse, Ghostwriters, we so happy, happy people. Oh gosh, nothing could feel good like this. Floating on the clouds like if I don't have no problem. I feel so happy, it's only good vibes we bring that put me on the sea Some people want you to do good for yourself and I'm better than them. Yeah, in this life, when negative vibe it come your way, just ignore them, cover your ears and sing la da 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 da. Sing the happy song la da da. Everybody just come along la da da. Yeah, we can doing nothing wrong la da 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 da. Yeah, cause I feel good like if I win the lottery. I know I know worry. God, I feel so happy, cause I feel good like if I win the lottery. I know worry. God, I feel so happy, so happy. I love when I'm in this mood, floating on the clouds like if I don't have no problem. I feel so irate right now, everything that I do put me on the ceiling. I just love this feeling, it make me happy. If you wake up in a bad mood, I want you to shake it away. Some people want you to do good for yourself and I'm better than them. In this life, when negative vibe it come your way, just ignore them, cover your ears and sing la da day. Yeah, sing the happy song la da day. Everybody just come along la da day. We ain't doing nothing wrong la da day. Yeah, yeah. Cause I feel good like if I win the lottery. I know worry. God, I feel so happy, cause I feel good like if I